Have you ever felt something strange, unspoken behind a smile? A glance that didn't shine when you shared your good news? A congratulations that came right on cue, but lacked a soul behind it? These are small, almost invisible moments, but they linger. They make you pause and wonder, is someone not truly happy for me? And if you've ever felt that way, know this: you are not alone. Jealousy is a deeply human emotion. It slips in quietly, like smoke through the smallest cracks in our relationships. Sometimes it comes from strangers, but more often it comes from those we trusted most. Friends, colleagues, even family. They won't say it, they won't confront it, but somehow you just know. Your success, the light you radiate, even if you're not trying to shine, can accidentally reveal the shadows within others. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your presence becomes a mirror reflecting the parts of themselves they're still afraid to face. And in those moments, you're faced with a choice at the heart of Stoic living. Will you be caught off guard and hurt, or will you observe with clarity and respond with wisdom? Stoicism doesn't teach us to be suspicious of everyone, but it does ask us to see the world with clear eyes and a guarded soul. It reminds us that while you cannot control the hearts of others, you can always control your reaction, your judgment, your boundaries, your peace. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you that harms you, it's how you perceive it. Someone else's envy is not a sentence you must serve, it's a reflection of their unrest. But if you ignore the signs, if you keep believing that every smile is sincere, every compliment is pure, you may find yourself giving away your light without realizing it, and draining the flame that keeps you whole. So let this be clear, this video isn't here to make you suspicious, it's here to make you aware. It's not a call for emotional distance, but for emotional wisdom. Because when you understand how jealousy moves in silence, you begin to see human nature more honestly, and in doing so, you start to protect not just your success, but your soul. We'll walk together through 13 subtle but powerful signs someone may be secretly jealous of. You've likely felt these things before, seen these behaviors, been stung by their impact, but now you'll have the language to name them, the clarity to spot them, and the strength to respond without being pulled in, because success doesn't just require effort. It demands awareness. You must learn to shine without being shaken by those who quietly want your light dimmed. And if someone out there can't stand to see you happy, let them carry that weight alone. As for you, continue forward with honesty in your words and integrity in your heart. Observe, don't overreact. Understand, don't condemn. And above all, stand firm in your stillness, steady in your truth, and untouched by the envy of others. Let us begin. Number 1, the hollow compliment, when praise hides. Poison. Not all smiles are warm. Not all praise is real. Sometimes the words sound right, the tone soft, the phrasing kind, but something underneath feels off. You speak of your good news, and they nod, they smile, they even say, "I'm so happy for you." But their eyes say otherwise. They shift uncomfortably, avoid your gaze, or worse, go still, like they've stepped outside the moment entirely. It's subtle, almost invisible, but your spirit notices what your mind cannot yet name. That is the mark of a false compliment. And it's often the first whisper of hidden jealousy. The Stoics taught us to see the world not through emotion, but through clarity. If someone praises you, Epictetus wrote, Remember, it is not you they truly praise, but the image they have formed of you, and that image lives only in their mind. This wisdom reminds us, words are reflections, not truths, and not all reflections are clean. When someone cannot celebrate your joy without condition, when their smile flickers with restraint or delay, what you're witnessing is not admiration, it's discomfort, because your success has disrupted their inner narrative. And rather than meeting it with humility, they cover it with pretense. But why false praise? Why not silence or even confrontation? Because false praise is safe. It allows them to maintain the illusion of goodwill while internally wrestling with envy. It's easier to smile than to admit, I'm struggling with how your light makes me feel. It's easier to clap politely than to confront their own bitterness. So they pretend, yet behind the applause is a sigh. Behind the kind words, a hidden wince. And when you turn your back, you may hear the soft click of a mask falling off. The eyes roll, the breath escapes, the truth returns. This is not always malice. Often it's unhealed pain. People who haven't cultivated inner peace will often resent the peace they see in others. People who measure their worth by comparison will always feel small when you stand tall. But still, this is not your burden to carry. Stoicism teaches us compassion, but never at the cost of clarity. It is not our job, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, to judge others harshly, but to protect the integrity of our own soul. So what do we do when we hear praise that feels empty? We do not lash out, we do not expose them, we do not play the same game. We breathe, we see clearly, and we remind ourselves their words do not define me, nor do their hidden thoughts diminish what I've earned. Because the danger of false praise isn't just in the words, it's in how we receive them. If we crave validation, we may drink poison disguised as wine. We may anchor our joy to others' approval, and when that approval is hollow, our joy deflates. But the Stoic finds joy within. We do not need applause to feel grounded in our achievement. We do not seek to be celebrated. We seek to be centered, anchored in virtue, not reputation, rooted in effort, not external acknowledgement. Let others say what they will. Let them smile without sincerity, speak without soul. That is their journey to face. Yours is different. Yours is to walk your path without needing an audience. Yours is to live so truthfully that false praise cannot touch you, because your worth is not on trial. And if you feel that flicker of unease the next time someone compliments you, pause. Look not at the words, but at the weight behind them. And ask yourself, is this praise or performance? Then smile gently and walk on, because the true measure of your success is not how many cheer for you, it's how silently, how powerfully, how unshakably you keep going when no one claps at all. That is Stoic strength. That is quiet power. That is praise that needs no echo. Number 2, the subtle eclipse. When your joy triggers their insecurity, there's a strange kind of silence that sometimes follows your joy, not from the absence of sound, but from the absence of presence. You share your news. A small victory, a moment you've been holding in your heart, waiting to release into the world. Maybe you finally got that promotion. Maybe your art was recognized. Maybe something inside you has simply bloomed after a long winter. And just as the moment should be met with joy, support, or at least acknowledgement, something else happens. They speak quickly, but not about you, not about your joy. They shift the spotlight. They mention something they just bought, a compliment they just received, an achievement of their own. Not to celebrate with you, but to compete with the light you've dared to shine. And in that moment, the air shifts. What could have been a moment of shared celebration becomes a quiet, invisible tug of war, where your joy is now fighting to survive in a conversation that was never about you to begin with. This is the subtle face of jealousy, not cruel, not loud, but dismissive, deflective. It's not an attack, it's an eclipse. Your joy is still there, but something has passed in front of it. Their need to be seen, their unspoken insecurity, their quiet resistance to your growth. The Stoics knew this all too well. In a world filled with egos, comparison, and shallow pride, they taught us something rare: to rejoice in others without losing ourselves, and to rise without stepping over anyone else's soul. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." And when someone's ambition is not to grow, but simply to not feel smaller than you, they will not rise with you. They will simply try to shrink the space where your voice is heard. But here's what Stoicism also teaches. This is not your fault, and more importantly, it is not your responsibility to fix. You are not here to measure your joy against someone else's insecurity. You are not required to dim your happiness to protect the fragile egos around you. And you are not obligated to apologize for having something to be proud of. Still, the Stoic does not respond with resentment. We do not mock their deflection or call out their ego. We respond with stillness, with presence. We hold our joy with both hands, not out of arrogance, but out of reverence for the journey it took to earn it. Because when someone interrupts your celebration with their own achievements, what they reveal is not malice, but pain. A soul not at ease. A person so unsure of their place in the world that your light feels like a threat instead of a warmth. They are not your enemy, but they are not your mirror either. And so you must learn, gently, firmly, to keep your joy sacred. Not hidden, but protected. You don't need to fight for attention. You don't need to compete for space. The sun does not apologize for shining. It simply rises, and those who are ready for the light will see it. Those who are not will turn away, and when they do, you must let them, because the one who cannot listen to your joy is not ready to walk beside your growth. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. This is not closing your heart. It's honoring its truth. If your happiness causes someone else to boast, not in celebration, but in deflection, know this: it has touched a part of them that is still unhealed. You cannot walk into their shadow to soothe that. You can only continue walking in your light, hoping they one day choose to step into theirs. So speak your joy. Let it breathe. Let it live in rooms where it is heard, not hijacked. And when someone responds to your good news by making it about themselves, offer them compassion, but keep your center. Let your soul remain unmoved. Let your happiness remain untangled. 4. The Stoic does not depend on applause to feel joy, nor fears silence when joy is real. We celebrate not for recognition, but for the simple miracle of growth. And in a world full of echoing egos, our quiet confidence will always be the most powerful voice in the room. So when they turn the conversation to themselves, smile gently, and remember, their need to be seen does not diminish the light you already are. Number 3. The unspoken discomfort. When your light makes them flinch, it happens in the smallest moments. You're not asking for attention. You're not performing. You simply show up, do your work, live with quiet effort, and someone notices. They offer a kind word, a compliment, a simple, sincere acknowledgement of something you've earned, and as the words are spoken, as praise fills the air around you, your eyes meet another's, and you see it. That flicker, that crack in the mask, a sudden shift in their energy. The way they go quiet, tighten their posture, force a smile that doesn't quite reach their eyes. It's subtle, but unmistakable. They are not angry, not confrontational, but something inside them flinches at your success, at your recognition. And while everyone else celebrates you, they shrink into silence, or worse, into irritation. That is when you know your growth has touched a nerve in someone else's insecurity. This moment, though small, holds a profound lesson in the Stoic path, because it asks of you something most difficult: not to react, not to shrink, and not to retaliate. It asks you to see clearly without absorbing the discomfort of others, to stand in your truth without needing their applause or fearing their unease. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others, unless you are doing so with a view to some mutual benefit. In other words, do not concern yourself with how others react to your light, unless it is to lift them, not to please them. Because the truth is, not everyone can handle your radiance. For those who are still at war within themselves, your calm will feel threatening. For those who doubt their worth, your confidence will seem like arrogance. And for those who measure life by comparison, your praise will feel like a reminder that they are unseen. But you must not let this disturb your center. Praise is not a spotlight. It is a reflection. And if that reflection makes someone uncomfortable, it is not your duty to dim it. Your only task is to remain anchored in the effort that brought you here, to remember that recognition is not your purpose. Integrity is. There is nothing arrogant about being appreciated. There is no shame in being acknowledged. But there is danger in tethering your spirit to the reactions of others, especially those who have not yet made peace with their own story. You see, when someone becomes visibly unsettled by your recognition, they are not revealing anything about you. They are exposing a fracture within themselves, a wound, a fear, a voice that whispers, "You're not enough," every time someone else is seen. The Stoic response is not pity. It is not pride. It is presence. You witness the shift. You feel the tension. But you do not abandon your inner calm to accommodate theirs, and yet you do not harden either, because compassion does not mean bending, and humility does not mean hiding. So what do you do when your presence stirs discomfort in another? You stay present. You remain kind, but unwavering. You do not make yourself smaller, but neither do you boast. You let your stillness speak for itself, because what the world needs is not more competition, it needs more clarity. Not more people chasing praise, but more people rooted in their purpose. Not more noise, but more quiet confidence that cannot be shaken by envy. So when someone looks away while others look toward you, let them. When someone shifts in their seat while others applaud, release them from your concern. You are not here to be everyone's comfort. You are here to walk your path with courage, with consistency, and with grace. And if your light happens to unsettle those still trapped in shadow, so be it. That is not cruelty. That is reality. One day they may see you not as a threat, but as a mirror, not as someone to resent, but as someone who silently reminded them that they too can rise. But until then, remain grounded. Let the praise come and go. Let the discomfort come and go. Let everything around you shift. While you remain unmoved, this is not pride, this is presence. And this is the strength of the Stoic spirit, to be centered in a world that cannot always celebrate you, and to stand tall even when others can't look you in the eye. Number 4, the silent theft. When they interrupt your joy to reclaim the spotlight, there is a certain kind of interruption that doesn't raise its voice, but still manages to silence yours. You begin to share something meaningful, an accomplishment, a personal breakthrough, a quiet joy you've carried like a flame, waiting for the right moment to be seen. And just as your words begin to take shape, someone cuts in, not with curiosity, not with support, but with a swift change of direction. They shift the conversation, they reclaim the attention, they take the light off you and place it back onto themselves. It happens so quickly, so casually, that others may not even notice, but you do. And in that moment, you're left suspended, half spoken, half heard, and slowly, silently, unseen. This kind of interruption isn't about timing. It's about territory. It's not about engaging in dialogue. It's about reclaiming dominance. In the Stoic tradition, speech is sacred. Words are not just sounds. They are expressions of the inner self, manifestations of logos, the rational order that connects thought to action. To interrupt someone, especially when they are speaking from the heart, is to disregard that sacred space. And when it's done, not out of urgency, but out of envy, it becomes something deeper. It becomes a form of theft. But this isn't a theft of ideas. It's the theft of presence. It's the subtle attempt to remind you that this moment doesn't belong to you. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Do not be surprised if people act according to their nature. Your task is to act according to yours." So what is your nature? If you walk the Stoic path, your nature is to remain composed, aware, and centered. Your response to interruption is not bitterness, but clarity. The one who cuts you off isn't simply impatient. They are unsettled. Your success, your joy, even your voice has stirred something in them they cannot yet face. And rather than sit with that discomfort, they escape it by hijacking the moment, by shifting the attention to themselves, by interrupting your light with their need to be seen. But you do not need to compete. You do not need to raise your voice or win back the room, because the one who is truly anchored does not fear being overlooked. They know their worth is not in how long they hold the spotlight, but in how steady they remain when it moves away. So when someone interrupts you, pause, not in defeat, but in mastery. Feel the temptation to explain, to fight for space, and then release it. Let them speak, let them have their moment, because your moment lives within you. It is not diminished by their discomfort. It is not erased by their noise. It is simply delayed. And when the space is right again, your voice will rise, not in defense but in calm truth. This is the art of emotional Aikido. Let the energy pass by you, let it exhaust itself, and then return, not louder, not sharper, but deeper. Because here is what Stoicism teaches us. You do not lose anything by not being the center of attention. But you risk everything if you abandon your peace just to win it back. Do not resent those who cannot hold space for your voice. Feel compassion for the turmoil they are hiding behind their interruption, but never let that compassion become self-erasure. Your voice matters, your story matters, your joy matters, but not all ears are ready to receive it, and that's okay. The Stoic does not speak to be heard by everyone. They speak because it is aligned with truth. So speak when the moment is right, and when it's taken from you, do not chase it. Stand in silence with your head high. Let your presence say what words no longer can. The one who interrupts you may win the moment, but you, my friend, will win your freedom, and that is worth far more than applause. Number 5. The echo that isn't you. When jealousy imitates what it cannot become, there's something strangely unsettling about being copied. Not because imitation is inherently wrong, but because, deep down, we feel the fracture in its energy. It doesn't come from admiration. It doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from something colder, more subtle, a silent attempt to possess, not to learn, a quiet echo that shadows your steps, not to honor your path, but to claim it. You begin to notice it in the little things. They start using your words, mimicking your tone, even changing how they dress or how they walk. They begin to show up in ways that feel eerily familiar because they're pulling pieces of you to build their version of them. But this is not flattery. This is not growth. This is envy in disguise. Envy doesn't always attack directly. Sometimes it imitates. Because it cannot tolerate your uniqueness, it tries to wear it like a mask. Because it fears it cannot become what you are, it settles for imitation, hoping no one will notice the difference. Yet the Stoic sees through this. We do not chase imitation, nor are we disturbed by it. We observe it, we understand it, and then we release it. Seneca once said, "No man becomes great by imitation. He who follows another follows nothing." Because true greatness, true alignment with nature, is never borrowed. It's lived. It rises from the depth of one's own discipline, one's own silence, one's own hard-earned integrity. When someone imitates you out of jealousy, they are not becoming more of themselves. They are fleeing from their own path, one they've deemed too uncertain, too painful, or too slow. They look at your light and see a shortcut, but light earned cannot be stolen. It can only be earned again, and that is why it stings. Not because someone is copying you, but because they are trying to skip the becoming. They want your presence without walking your pain. They want your voice without finding their silence. They want your confidence, but not the long nights it took you to build it. There's a deep irony here. Often, they will copy what they once criticized. The words they mocked now find their way into their captions. The choices they questioned now shape their style. The path they dismissed is now the one they walk, and that is the nature of envy. It burns inward before it reflects outward. It attacks what it secretly desires, then clings to it in silence, hoping to absorb its power without owning its origin. So what does the Stoic do? Not anger, not confrontation, not ego. The Stoic remains rooted, unbothered by echoes, unshaken by mimicry, uninterested in being flattered by those who don't yet know who they are, because your worth is not found in being first. It's found in being whole, and wholeness cannot be copied. You must understand, your presence will trigger those still unsure of their own. Your originality will unsettle those living on borrowed voices, and your quiet self-possession will confuse those who need constant noise to feel real. But none of this is your problem to solve. It's only your signal to stay centered. Let them imitate, let them chase, let them stitch together shadows of what you've built. But do not trade your depth for the approval of imitators. Do not shrink your soul just because someone else is afraid to meet their own. Continue walking, continue living, continue building what no one can duplicate, your internal freedom. Because there's something sacred about those who stay true to their nature, even when others try to wear it like a costume. They shine without asking. They lead without needing followers. They create without craving credit. That is the Stoic way. And when someone copies you tomorrow, remember, they are not the threat. Losing yourself to please them is. So let your life be original. Let your path be yours. Let your light be so rooted in truth that no imitation could ever carry its weight. Number 6, the quiet undermining. When they diminish what you've built. There's a particular kind of silence that doesn't come from absence, but from refusal. A silence not of forgetting, but of choosing not to acknowledge. You share something you've worked hard for, an achievement born from late nights, quiet battles, and the kind of perseverance no one ever saw. You don't boast, you don't shout. You simply speak it with the calm pride of someone who's earned it, but the response doesn't come, or if it does, it arrives cloaked in dismissal. A passing shrug, a change of subject, or worse, the soft sting of backhanded comments. Oh, you're lucky they liked you. I heard someone pulled strings for that. Must be nice to have those connections. It's not criticism. It's not even argument. It's erosion. Subtle, intentional, quietly aimed at the foundation of your effort. And this is where Stoicism speaks with gentle strength. You do not need their validation to make your success real. You only need your own clarity. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions. When someone tries to minimize your success, they reveal far more about themselves than about you, because it takes a certain kind of discomfort, a certain kind of restlessness inside, to hear of someone else's progress and feel the need to explain it away. To those who are at peace within themselves, success is inspiring. To those who are still searching for worth, success is threatening, and so they protect their pride the only way they know how, by shrinking yours. They rewrite your story not with facts, but with implications. That you were handed the opportunity, that you were in the right place at the right time, that your results were somehow not entirely your own. But the Stoic does not take offense. The Stoic sees, you see their reaction for what it is, a coping mechanism, a self-defense, a way of preserving their illusion that effort doesn't matter, because if yours does, they might have to face their own inaction. And yet, you don't respond with bitterness, you respond with stillness, because your success is not diminished by someone else's inability to honor it. And your path is not defined by who walks beside you or who chooses to look the other way. When you encounter those who belittle your progress, remember, you are not here to convince, you are here to become. Let their words pass through you like wind through an open field. Let them rewrite your story in their own minds if they must, but never rewrite yourself in response, because success, real success, is quiet. It does not need defending. And if your achievement makes someone uncomfortable, that is their mirror to face, not yours to fix. The Stoic builds for the sake of the building, speaks truth not to impress, but to align. Stands tall not for applause, but because it is the natural posture of self-respect. And so, when others dismiss your wins, you do not fold inward. You simply keep going, rooted, centered, unmoved. You know the hours you put in. You know the nights you wanted to quit but didn't. You know what it took to get here, and that knowledge, that deep, unshakable inner record, is your true reward. Let the world say what it will. Let them call it luck, timing, favoritism, or fate. You call it discipline. You call it devotion. You call it yours, because it is. And no voice can erase the work that shaped you into the person who no longer needs to be seen, to stand tall. This is what Stoicism teaches us, that the highest form of success is not when others praise us, but when we no longer need them to. Number 7, the race you never entered. When they compete to outshine you, you didn't come to win. You came to grow. You didn't show up to be better than anyone. You simply wanted to be better than who you were yesterday. And yet, somewhere along the way, you found yourself in a race you never entered. Every step you take, someone tries to take too. Every idea you share, they rush to offer another, louder, longer, dressed in urgency. In meetings, in conversations, in spaces where collaboration should live, something else begins to grow. Competition, but not the kind that sharpens us, not the kind that humbles us into discipline and focus. This is the kind that narrows the soul, that turns effort into theater, contribution into currency. You notice it in the subtle interruptions, the accidental overstatements of their own work. You feel it in the way they rush to volunteer, not out of service, but to be seen. You see it when they watch your every move, not to learn, but to measure, to keep score. And maybe, just maybe, you've wondered if you should do the same, if you should play the game. But then the Stoic in you whispers, you are not here to compete. You are here to contribute. In a world obsessed with comparison, this is radical. Epictetus once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. To the Stoic, reputation is noise. Applause is fleeting. What matters is who you are when no one's watching. And if someone else builds their worth by outshining you, then their flame is fragile, because it relies on comparison, not conviction. Unhealthy. Competition isn't really about you. It's about someone trying to validate themselves through you. They don't want to grow, they want to win. But the Stoic knows not every victory is noble, and not every spotlight is light. So how do you respond? Not with rivalry, not with resentment, but with rootedness. You stay steady, you stay true. You let others run while you walk with intention, because when you are at peace with your pace, no one can make you rush. When you are clear on your values, no one can bait you into vanity. And when you are aligned with your purpose, you don't need to outperform anyone. You simply need to show up as yourself. In the Stoic view, greatness is quiet. It isn't desperate to be noticed. It doesn't hustle for approval. It speaks softly but lives fully. And in the face of competition, it does not react. It reflects. If a colleague works overtime just to make you look lazy, do not match their noise with more noise. Match it with calm. Let your work speak, not for your ego, but for your consistency. If someone takes credit or subtly undermines your efforts, do not spiral into strategy. Return to your center. Return to your virtue. Because character is revealed not in applause, but in how you endure being overlooked without bitterness. You are not in a competition. You are in a process, a journey, a quiet becoming. And the truth is, those who race to be seen often burn out, because external rewards cannot fuel a soul that is running on emptiness, but the one who moves with purpose, not performance. that person becomes unshakable. Let others perform. Let them chase visibility. Let them exhaust themselves trying to be the loudest in the room. You, be the clearest, be the calmest, be the one who doesn't flinch. In the end, the world will always pull you toward the scoreboard. But the Stoic looks inward. You measure success not by how many you surpass, but by how deeply you align with your own principles. So when you feel that competitive energy swirling around you, pause, feel it, witness it, and then let it pass like wind through an anchored tree. You are not here to run faster than them. You are here to walk your path so fully, so truthfully, that no one else's speed can distract you from your stride. And that is the power they will never understand, because while they compete to be impressive, you choose to be immovable. Number 8. The shadow behind the spotlight. When they claim credit for your light success reveals many things: the depth of your resilience, the quiet strength it took to endure, the discipline no one else witnessed when you kept showing up. But perhaps most telling of all, success reveals others. Not all who celebrate with you are celebrating you. Some people don't seek your fall. They don't overtly oppose you. They smile, they nod, they even clap. But when the light shines too brightly on what you've achieved, they edge forward, not to congratulate, but to stand close enough to catch a little of that glow. You'll recognize it in subtle phrases, spoken casually, but designed to plant a seed. I told you that would work. Remember, I was the one who suggested it. You wouldn't have done it without that idea we discussed. And just like that, your moment is no longer yours alone. The narrative shifts. The spotlight, once earned by your quiet labor, now feels diluted, shared, reshaped into something collaborative, even when it wasn't. This is not teamwork. This is ego, disguised as support. It is envy wrapped in familiarity. It is the attempt to attach themselves to your mountain after you've already climbed it. But the Stoic does not get tangled in credit, because credit, like praise, is temporary. The applause fades. The spotlight moves, but what endures is the person you became through the journey. What endures is the virtue forged in the quiet hours of effort, when no one else was watching, helping, or guiding. Seneca once said, "A great mind becomes a great fortune, not because it is praised, but because it is whole within itself." When someone tries to insert themselves into your success, they are not showing respect for your path. They are revealing their discomfort with their own. To them, your achievement is a mirror, and it reflects back all the moments they didn't try, all the choices they avoided, all the steps they didn't take. So they reach, not to harm, but to heal a wound in their own self-worth. They tell themselves, if I was part of your success, then maybe I'm not falling behind. But that's not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for their unspoken fears, nor their need to feel relevant in a journey they didn't walk. What do you do in response? Nothing, but see clearly. You don't need to defend what you've done. Truth does not argue. The Stoic does not seek recognition, because we know virtue is its own reward. And those who seek to attach themselves to your success are chasing an illusion. They believe that by claiming your light, they will finally feel bright. But light borrowed is never light owned. Let them say what they will. Let them remind others of their contribution. Let them trace your path with their name in the margins. You don't need to erase them. You don't need to confront them. You simply need to keep becoming. because the one who truly built something never needs to prove it. You were there when no one believed. You were there when doubt was louder than affirmation. You were there when every step forward was uphill, quiet and unrewarded. And that is what matters. Not who claps at the summit, but who climbed. So the next time someone tries to take partial ownership of what you've built, don't tighten your grip. Loosen your attachment. Smile, not out of sarcasm, but out of understanding. They do not see what you see. They do not know what you know. And they do not carry what you carry. You walk in peace, not because others acknowledge your path, but because you do. That is Stoic power. Not the kind that seeks recognition, but the kind that doesn't need it. In a world obsessed with credit, choose character. In a room full of echoes, let your silence be unshakable. And in the presence of those who try to rewrite your story, stand tall in the one you lived. Because no matter how many try to share your victory, your transformation was always yours alone. Number 9, the eyes that wait for you to slip. When scrutiny replaces support, there's a gaze that doesn't look to understand. It waits to find fault. It doesn't watch with curiosity or care, but with calculation. It lingers not to witness your growth, but to detect your stumble. And when you finally, inevitably make a mistake, even a small one, that gaze sharpens. It pounces, not out of truth, but out of triumph. This is not feedback, it's surveillance. This is not guidance. It's quiet competition wearing the mask of concern. You'll know it when you see it. They rarely celebrate your effort. They rarely ask with genuine interest. But the moment something goes wrong, an error in your report, a missed deadline, a choice that doesn't land, they become the loudest voice in the room, and worse, they often make sure it's in front of others. To them, your mistake is an opportunity, not to build anything better, but to elevate themselves by lowering you. It is a fragile power move. An attempt to prove superiority not by rising higher, but by watching you fall just far enough that they feel taller. But here's what the Stoic sees. This is not strength. This is fear, dressed in performance, driven by insecurity, rooted in ego. Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." The Stoic strength lies not in avoiding scrutiny, but in remaining sovereign under it. So, when others watch your every move, not to learn but to judge, you do not tense. You do not retaliate. You do not perform. You simply keep working, keep showing up, keep building what they cannot, a life grounded in substance, not spectacle. Let them scrutinize. Let them count your flaws like currency. Let them wait for the moment you slip, while you continue becoming the kind of person who no longer fears slipping at all, because the one who fears mistakes is still chasing perfection for approval. But the Stoic walks with calm imperfection, knowing that growth is not clean, that missteps are sacred, that errors, when faced with humility, become teachers far more honest than applause. The problem isn't that they see your flaws. The problem is that they need them to feel worthy, to feel relevant, to feel superior. But your task is not to be flawless. It is to be unshakable. When they point fingers in front of others, take a breath. Do not explain your worth. Do not scramble to defend. Speak if there is truth to clarify. Remain silent if their motives speak louder than their words. Your dignity is not found in winning debates. It is found in refusing to enter battles that compromise your peace. Their need to catch you is not about you. It is about what they have not yet caught within themselves, because those who walk with confidence don't count the footsteps of others. Those who lead from a centered soul don't wait in shadows to strike. And those who have met their own limitations face to face don't need to shame others for theirs. So when your work is being scrutinized unjustly, obsessively, step back and ask, am I being tested, or are they? Am I being observed, or is their own insecurity just looking for relief? And when you know the answer, you'll stop reacting, you'll stop shrinking, you'll stop over-explaining, you'll simply continue, unmoved, composed, and aligned with what you can control, your work, your attitude, your virtue. The Stoic does not live for the eyes of others. They live for the eyes of truth, for the inner voice that knows when they've given their best, even when the world is fixated on the one thing that went wrong. Because in the end, the strongest person in the room is not the one pointing out flaws. It's the one who can face them with humility, without losing self-respect. So let them watch, let them wait, let them whisper. You are not here to perform, you are here to embody, to build, to refine, to walk forward even as they circle. That is what it means to stand tall, even when all eyes hope you fall. Number 10, they speak behind your back. They smile when they see you. They nod politely, speak your name with just enough warmth, and offer the kind of words that seem sincere on the surface. But when your back is turned, when you've left the room or hung up the call, another voice emerges, a quieter one, sharper, hidden in suggestion, coated in charm, but laced with venom. They don't attack directly, they sow rumors, doubt, questions posed as concern, and little by little they erode trust, not by shouting lies, but by whispering. Distortion. This is not confrontation, it's sabotage, not built on courage but on cowardice. And it always happens when you're not there to speak for yourself. But a Stoic understands this says far more about them than it ever will about you. Epictetus taught, if evil is spoken of you and it is true, correct yourself. If it is a lie, laugh at it. Because the Stoic does not live to manage opinion. They live to master the self. And when the self is rooted in integrity, no rumor can reach the depth of your peace. It's painful, yes, to know someone you've treated with respect, perhaps even kindness, turns and twists your name in rooms you do not enter. It's natural to feel the sting of betrayal, the frustration of being misrepresented. But you must ask yourself, what is truly at risk? Is it your character? No, that is built from the inside out. Is it your reputation? Perhaps. But even that is not yours to control. For as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. And people's opinions entirely outside your control. When they speak ill of you behind your back, it's because they cannot face you directly. Not out of fear of your reaction, but because your presence forces them to confront a truth they cannot bear, that you are not what they say and never were. So they choose the easier path. They fabricate, exaggerate, distort, because in doing so they reclaim some imagined sense of superiority. By cutting down your name, they attempt to raise their own. But know this, the person who must destroy others to feel worthy is already collapsing inward. You don't need to respond. You don't need to correct every rumor. You don't need to run after your reputation like a shadow slipping from your feet. You simply need to continue living in a way that invalidates the lie. Let time do what words cannot. Let silence speak where rebuttal would only feed the fire. Let your consistency be the quiet rebuttal to their noise, and if you must act, act only with clarity, Do not confront them with anger, for that is exactly what they seek, to pull you into their theater, to provoke and twist your reaction as more proof of their distorted narrative. Instead, do what Stoicism teaches best. Remain unmoved, not from indifference, but from strength. Because what they do behind your back only matters when you abandon what's within your grasp, your behavior, your virtue, your calm. You see, slander is not proof of your flaw. It is evidence of their inner war. The person who spends energy breaking others down reveals only that they do not yet know how to build themselves up. So offer them no fuel, offer them no stage. Let them speak, let them try, let them spin their stories. And you keep becoming, not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that your peace is untouchable. You keep showing up, you keep giving your best. You keep walking with the quiet confidence that cannot be counterfeited, because true respect, the kind that endures, is never won in rooms of gossip. It is built in the hidden places where your actions align with your principles and your soul remains free of bitterness. Let others chase approval, let them weaponize words, but you, Stoic soul, you stand still. You remain kind, and you trust that truth, like the sun, may disappear for a moment behind clouds, but it always returns. Brighter, clearer, unapologetically real, just like you. Number 11. When they smile at your fall and call it compassion, there is a silence more piercing than words. It's the silence of someone who leans in close when you're wounded, not to heal you, but to listen, to memorize your pain, to quietly savor your fall. You can feel it, can't you? You share a failure, a moment of doubt, a misstep, and their voice offers sympathy. But their eyes sparkle just a little too much. Their tone is soft, yet behind it hums a quiet satisfaction. You've become vulnerable, and somewhere deep inside them it makes them feel strong. This is one of the most invisible forms of envy, when someone disguises joy as empathy, but their comfort is not rooted in love. It is rooted in comparison. They do not rejoice in your downfall because they are evil. They rejoice because in your fall, they finally feel taller. And in a world obsessed with appearances and silent rivalries, this kind of person thrives. They won't openly criticize you. No, they're far too careful for that. Instead, they watch. And when the world dims your light even for a moment, they appear, offering concern, while secretly feeding their ego. This kind of behavior can break your spirit if you don't understand it. It can make you distrust kindness. It can make you close your heart. But here is where Stoicism offers something rare and necessary: perspective without poison. Epictetus reminds us, it's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. The truth is, you are not harmed by their hidden delight. You are harmed when you believe their reaction defines your worth. You must remember this: your failure, temporary as it is, does not lower you. Their reaction to it only reveals who they are. Let others show their character. Let the masks fall. If your failure causes someone to become more joyful, take note, not with bitterness, but with clarity. These moments are not curses. They are revelations. They reveal who only celebrated your victories because they feared your strength. They reveal who sees you not as a friend, but as a benchmark they resent. They reveal who lacks the courage to build their own path, so they cling to your stumbles to feel less small. And while that truth may hurt, it also liberates you. Because once you see them clearly, you stop wasting your heart on those who only clap when you fall. You stop mistaking fake warmth for real loyalty. And you start building your circle not around comfort, but around courage. around people who celebrate your rise and stand beside you in your fall, not because it flatters them, but because they love you without comparison. When someone rejoices in your setback, your response must not be resentment. That's too easy, and it makes you no different than them. Your response must be silence, elevation, stillness. Let them smile. Let them pry for details while pretending to care. Let them believe they've found proof that you are flawed. You have no obligation to defend yourself, because those who are truly strong never gloat in another's weakness. And those who walk the path of a Stoic know every setback is a lesson, not a label. So rise quietly, stronger, wiser, not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that your value never depended on their perception. In the end, life has a poetic way of restoring balance. Those who cheered at your failure will one day be haunted by the sound of your calm success. And you will smile, not in spite, but in peace, because you chose the higher ground. Let others rejoice when you fall, but never let that stop you from rising. Number 12, when they quietly sabotage your plans. Not all enemies shout, some whisper. They don't oppose you with force, they weaken you with doubt. You're excited, your voice light, your energy lifted. You speak of a plan, a dream, a simple weekend trip, or maybe something far bigger, a goal you've dared to commit to. You mention it with the gentle pride of someone who's finally found their footing. And then they respond, not with encouragement, not with honest curiosity, but with a carefully placed stone in your path. Did you check the weather? It's supposed to rain. Are you sure this is the right time? I heard it might not go as smoothly as you think. Just like that, your joy falters. The wind in your sails softens. It's subtle, not a direct attack, not something you can easily confront, because on the surface they appear concerned, cautious, realistic. But underneath, there's another motive: to make you hesitate, to make you question yourself, to clip your wings before you even take flight. This is one of the most refined forms of envy, when someone seeks not to ruin your plans, but to ruin your confidence in those plans. They disguise their doubt as wisdom, their pessimism as protection. But what they're truly protecting is their ego. Because deep down, your forward motion unsettles them. They don't know how to build, so instead, they interrupt. They don't know how to rise, so instead, they distract. And the Stoics knew this. Well, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." But these people, they operate in the gray. Their words aren't necessarily false, but they're shaped to disarm you, because your planning, your discipline, as your calm momentum, it reminds them of all they haven't done. So they seek to shatter your stillness with ripples of worry. Now, here's the truth. You don't owe anyone the weight of your hesitation. Not everyone deserves a seat at the table of your intentions. Not every opinion is earned. Not every voice is worthy of space in your mind. The Stoic response to this kind of disruption isn't confrontation. It is discernment. It's stepping back, not with anger, but with awareness. When someone repeatedly meets your hope with heaviness, you must ask, are they truly offering insight, or are they shielding their insecurity in the language of logic? And when the answer is clear, your path is simple. You don't fight. You don't explain. You continue. Let them talk about rain. You bring an umbrella and go anyway. Let them question your plan. You build it brick by brick in quiet resolve. Let them sprinkle doubt like seeds. You plant deeper roots, because the person you must protect most is not the version of you that doubts. It's the version that still dares, that part of you that sees a brighter horizon and moves toward it, step by silent step. That part of you that makes plans not to impress, but to fulfill. That part of you that understands. Progress is sacred, and those who cannot match your courage will always try to interrupt your clarity. So protect your clarity, guard your joy, and remember, not everyone who speaks softly has good intentions, and not every storm they warn you about is real. Let them stay stuck in forecast. You keep walking in faith, because in the end, the greatest revenge against subtle sabotage is not proving them wrong. It's living so well, so deeply aligned, that their words dissolve into the wind behind you. Number 13, when advice is a mask, the Stoic path through false guidance. Sometimes betrayal doesn't arrive as a dagger in the back. It arrives as a whisper in your ear, wearing the voice of concern. I'm just trying to help. It's what I would do. Trust me on this, but beneath the comforting tone and familiar face lies a quiet sabotage. This is not guidance. It is strategy, and its purpose is not your success, but your stumble. You speak your dreams aloud, wide-eyed. With hope, they nod, smile, and then hand you a map that leads you in circles. They don't shout over you. They don't argue with your ambition. Instead, they infect your clarity with confusion, gently shifting your steps until you're no longer sure where you began. It's subtle. That's what makes it so dangerous, because this kind of person doesn't just want to see you fail. They want to shape the way you fail, and even worse, they want to be there when it happens, to console you, to say, well, I did warn you, to wrap themselves in the illusion of support, when all along they were the architect of your misstep. The Stoics would not be surprised, for as Epictetus reminds us, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. False advice is not only an external trap, it's a challenge to your internal compass. And so the task is not to silence every voice, it is to strengthen your discernment. Because not every advisor is an ally, not every voice deserves your path, and not every suggestion is made with your well-being in mind. Ask yourself, do they celebrate your progress or subtly redirect it? Do they uplift your strength or quietly plant doubt? Do they help you see yourself more clearly or muddy your reflection with second guessing? Jealousy wears many costumes. Sometimes it imitates you, sometimes it competes with you, and sometimes it pretends to guide you. But what's most tragic is not the deceit itself. It's what we do after we believe it. Because if we trust the wrong voice too often, we lose faith in our own. We begin to fear our decisions. We hesitate at every crossroad, haunted by advice that led us astray. That is why Stoicism is not just a philosophy of endurance. It is a practice of internal sovereignty. You must become the gatekeeper of your own direction. Your clarity is your responsibility, your path, your own. This doesn't mean you never listen. It means you listen with awareness, not with blind trust. You weigh intentions, not just words. You observe patterns, not just promises, because in the end, the wisest path is not always the loudest one. And the truest ally does not seek to direct your every step. They remind you of the strength you already hold. So what should you do when you suspect false advice? You don't accuse, you don't rage, you don't waste breath exposing their intention. You simply return to stillness. You retreat inward. You sit with the decision until the fog of emotion clears. And from that still place you act, not out of pressure, but from presence, because this is your life, your vision, your responsibility, and when you walk it with quiet certainty, those who once hoped to mislead you will fall away, not with conflict, but with irrelevance. Let them offer directions with their own doubts. You chart your course with wisdom. Let them pretend to guide your steps. You walk with the compass of calm judgment and grounded clarity. For the Stoic does not need applause, nor do they need constant advice. What they need is awareness and a fierce loyalty to the truth within. And once you find that, no false friend, no crooked path, no quiet sabotage can lead you astray. Final reflection: jealousy is not always loud. It doesn't always announce itself with hostility or open confrontation. Often it creeps in quietly, through glances, silences, misplaced words, and disguised smiles. It wears the faces of friends, of co-workers, of those who once clapped for you when you were smaller, but now flinch as you grow. But recognizing it, that is the first act of freedom. To see clearly what once confused you, to name what once drained you in silence, to understand that not every voice cheering beside you is cheering for you. This isn't about judgment, it's about preservation, because you were not put here to constantly prove your worth, to dilute your light for the comfort of others, or to carry the emotional weight of someone else's silent war. The Stoics taught us this timeless truth. We cannot control what others feel, but we can govern how we respond. You cannot stop someone from feeling envy, but you can choose not to shrink for it. You can choose to protect your energy, your peace, your purpose. Let others carry their storms. You build a calm within that no storm can touch. It begins by observing, by honoring the signs, by refusing to call confusion kindness and manipulation mentorship. You are allowed to take a step back when someone constantly belittles your wins, interrupts your joy, or offers advice laced in quiet sabotage. You are allowed to say, "This is not the energy I wish to carry forward." You owe it to your future to guard the present. You owe it to your peace to create space from what poisons it, because relationships shape our reality. And when we fail to filter what enters our mind, our emotions, our circle, we don't just lose energy. We lose clarity, we lose momentum, we lose ourselves. Let this be your moment to choose differently. From now on, may you walk with open eyes and a soft but steady heart. Trust what you observe. Act from wisdom, not woundedness. Be kind, yes, but let your kindness be rooted in discernment, not in obligation. You were never meant to save everyone. You were meant to stand firm in your truth and radiate strength to those ready to rise with you. So remember this: you don't need to expose the envious. You just need to stop giving them your front row. Let your attention become sacred. Let your joy become guarded. And let your soul stay light, no longer carrying the silent heaviness of someone else's resentment. You are here to grow, to expand, to live unchained. And that journey begins with the quiet courage to see clearly and to walk away peacefully. If this reflection stirred something within you, if you felt the truth between the words, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell. Not just to support this message, but to join a growing circle of strength, clarity, and self-mastery. There's more to come. Until then, walk with wisdom, speak with grace, and protect your light.